What's up, guys? It's Justin from 904 Lawn Pros. Today, we're going to be talking about St. Augustine versus Bahia. Okay, so here in Jacksonville, we've got two different types of grass. We have St. Augustine and we have Bahia. Now, we do have some zoysia and some fescue, but the two main types are St. Augustine and Bahia. And I would say that 80% of my yards are St. Augustine, the rest are Bahia. And my question is, do you guys stay away from certain types of grass? For example, obviously I like St. Augustine. The reason why, and I'll show you the two types here in just a minute, but the reason why is Bahia lawns, even though they grow like crazy in the summer, they have a very short growing season. I only cut them about 6 months out of the year. For example, my lawn at my house is Bahia, and I haven't cut it since Thanksgiving. It just hasn't grown. And I can't make a living on 6 months worth of cutting season. So I always try to stay to the St. Augustine yards that are irrigated and fertilized, because it's here in the middle of January and I'm still cutting grass. Now, this time last year it was 32 degrees in January, but this week, or this year, the first week of January was 80 degrees during the whole week. The second week of January was in the 70s. So today the high is like 60. But the grass is still growing. So I'm going to flip the camera around and show you the growth on this yard and show you the St. Augustine grass. And then we'll go to my house and I'll show you the Bahia and the difference. So hang tight. All right, so this is a St. Augustine yard. And this side over here had a lot of dollar weed in it. So it doesn't look as healthy as the other grass, but we'll spin around and show you. But this stuff's still growing. In the summertime, it'll grow a couple inches a week, 2 to 3 inches a week at least. Need to trim these bushes. I hadn't been able to trim them for the last month and a half because they've had Christmas lights on them, but they're finally off, so we're going to touch those up. But this stuff's still beautiful and green. There's a dead patch there that I'm going to fix. But let me get down here and show you the blades of grass real quick. By the way, that's a great channel on YouTube, Johnny with Blades of Grass up in Savannah, Georgia. But this stuff is growing. I mean, I need to cut a couple inches off of this lawn. So I'm gonna knock this one out. I'll show you what it looks like afterwards, and then we'll go to my house and I'll show you the Bahia lawn. But yeah, the stuff's still growing like crazy down here, which is great for business, so hang tight. All right, so here's the after. We've got crisp, clean edges. You had no idea how many times I had to redo that one. And Florida stripes. So, walk you around real quick and show you. Like I said, I got some spot repair to do in this lawn. Did some last spring. I did some spot sod repair up in here. You can't even tell where it was fixed. I'll be doing the same thing here. Basically dig that out just a tad, put down some black cow and some good sod, not the crap you get from Home Depot and Lowe's that's got that sand base, but some good muck bottom sod that's got that 1.5 inches, 2 inches worth of thick black mud on the bottom of it. So that stuff grows like crazy. So anyway, gonna drive you around the neighborhood, show you the other St. Augustine lawns in here, and then we'll go to my house and take a look at Bahia. So hang tight. So I was talking about the growth rate on this stuff, and even now, where my weekly lawns are now bi-weekly, and my bi-weeklies are monthly, this stuff I cut a good 2 to 3 inches off of. In the summertime, even on a weekly account, if it's an irrigated, fertilized St. Augustine lawn, and I know you're not supposed to cut more than 1/3 of an inch of the blade, or 1/3 of the blade off, but unless you're cutting every 4 or 5 days in the summertime, that's just not realistic. So even in summer, we're cutting 2 to 3 inches off per week. This was for 2 weeks. I've got one lady who I told her she couldn't be bi-weekly. She either had to go weekly or I was going to drop her, because I showed up to cut her St. Augustine lawn, and after 2 weeks, she had, it was like 8 to 10 inches that I was going to have to cut off. I had to like triple cut that yard. So anyway, I'm going to spin the camera around. We're going to drive through this neighborhood. You guys have seen it before in some of my videos. I'm going to show you these other St. Augustine lawns, and then we're going to my house. Okay, finally cut theirs. I got a weed eat. So got the window here. Now, here, I'm going to pull over to the side real quick. Because in comparison, there's St. Augustine. And if we look over here in the field, let me put the window down so you don't get a glare. That is Bahia. It's very thin. And in the summertime, the grass grows a couple inches a week, but it's got seed sprouts or shoots that shoot up, and in 4 or 5 days, they can be a foot tall. And I don't have any right now, but the grass will be 4 to 6 inches high. The sprout will be about a foot tall, and right at the top of the sprout, you'll see V-shaped seed pods coming off of them. So that's the difference between St. Augustine and Bahia. So let's keep this right here. So we got Bahia, and then we're shifting to St. Augustine, a much denser, coarse, thick blade of grass. Hang tight. Sorry, I stopped recording for a second because dude was staring at me and started to walk over and ask me what I was doing. So I told him to check me out on YouTube. We'll see if I get any weird comments or anything. But, so you guys get the idea. Tell me what type of grass you have. First of all, comment below and tell me, you know, what type of grass or what area of the country you're in and what type of grass you guys have. And if you prefer one type over another. Well, there's a big difference right there. Boom. All right, so I'm gonna stop and actually pay attention to driving. All right, guys, so we're back at my house now, and I'm gonna turn the camera around so you can see the Bahia. So hang tight. Okay, so again, I haven't cut this since right around Thanksgiving. It pretty much goes dormant. I mean, I do need to re-edge the sidewalk and weed eat around the perimeter because the weeds are growing, but as far as the actual Bahia grass, it's really not growing. I mean, there are some spots where it's more shaded, where there is a little bit of growth, but nothing like the St. Augustine. So let's walk up here real quick. Trash blew in my yard. The neighbor's got St. Augustine, so let's kind of give you an idea side by side. You know how it is, after you mow 10, 15, however many properties in a day, last thing you want to do is come home and take care of yours. So, Bahia, St. Augustine. So again, in the comments below, tell me what where you're from in the country, what your grass types are, what the cut season is on them, and if you prefer one over the other, if you refuse to take certain types of grass. I'm severely going to limit the Bahia yards that I take for a couple of reasons. One, I already mentioned the growth rate on them. Super slow in the winter. Really don't need to be cut. And in the summer, they almost have to be cut every 3 or 4 days sometimes. Also, because it's a less dense grass, most of the Bahia yards are in older neighborhoods with very sandy yards. So that sand just tears the hell out of your mower blades. Whereas, I mean, you're basically sandblasting your blades. So I have some yards where I have to use a dust mask on because they're so bad. So anyway, let me know what you guys have in your area, and I'll catch you on the next one.